Hi, I'm Hong Lee from KW Bonsai. We are about to have a workshop in sharpening bonsai tools. We will be doing some concave cutters, some shears, and concave. These are called knob cutters. They're for cutting roots at repotting time. I'll sharpen some. This is a fishtail gouge that I use to debark for gin and sherry. And I also have some groove gouges, some V and U-shaped gouges. So, and last but not least, this is my trusty carving knife with replaceable blade. These are very expensive, so I have opted to sharpen these instead of just throwing them away and replacing them. They're very, very hard. They're about, anybody who's familiar with the Rockwell scale, it's about between 50 to 53 or thereabouts. So it's a Rockwell C reading. So all of these cutting tools are very, very hard. Therefore, we have to use a special abrasive. We have different grades. The coarse grade here is 15 microns. I don't remember what the actual equivalent in grit is. Okay, these are not meant to take off a tremendous amount of material quickly. So, I mean, you do want your bonsai tools to last. You don't want to just make filings out of them. So, this one is, this is 15 microns, this is 5 microns. So, it's considerable higher grit. And then lastly is a 0.5 micron. I have these stuck on pieces of aluminum sheeting, or actually these are bar stock aluminum. So they're for quick sharpening of tools when you're applying, when you're pruning. So, but there is one other option that instead of the 0.5 micron, actually this 0.5 micron is purely for aesthetic reasons, is to make your tools nice and shiny like a mirror, and just to show people how proud you are of your tools. And you should, because they are very expensive, and one shouldn't have to buy a replacement tool in their lifetime. So when you're buying them, just have that in mind, so that they aren't too expensive if you amortize them over your lifetime. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through these tools the way I have just explained. It's very hard to explain the way I'm sharpening them. You just have to observe, and I will highlight the special events of each one. So, first of all, let's start with a surface that we want to work with. We need a flat surface, something like this is about 6 or 7 inches in length and about 4 to 5 inches wide. It's a small surface, but it'll do. And what we want to do is we want to take a look, first pick up a tool that needs to be sharpened, and then assess the damage and what we need to do. Do we need to remove material at the start, or do we just want to sharpen, which is considerable less? If you had encountered some stones and things with your tool, chances are you will want to remove nicks. So that would cause you to have to remove more material than usual. So I'm taking a look at my my concave cutter here. It doesn't look too bad a shape. It's got some sap. So what I'll do is I will start with the middle grade. The middle grade being the gray one. That would be this one right here. That is the 5 micron. What I do is I don't use any liquid. These micro adhesive is meant to use dry. So one of the worst enemies of high carbon steel edges is heat. And if you do if you try to sharpen it too quickly, or the speed is too high, you will lose the edge. The high carbon steel will break down, so you will not have a lasting edge. We have a member here that cooks a lot, and sous chef, cuts a lot, so he can attest to that. So unless he's using stainless steel. So these are not stainless steel, although you can get them in stainless steel. Stainless steel is okay, but they are very hard to sharpen because of the hardness in the chromium. And by the way, some of these adhesives are made with chromium dioxide. So okay, I will proceed to sharpen the concave cutter. So this adhesive being on a flat surface, I should line up the edge of this concave cutter to a flat surface and pull towards me. Now, keeping in mind counting the strokes, that's 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes, and 4 strokes. Now, you could hardly see anything that came off of there. So I'm going to show you the difference between what I just did, which is on my right hand side, and that's the before, and this is the after. Now you don't see any filing on the micro adhesives. So actually the only thing that matters in these cutters are on the edge. Okay, so I need just to sharpen the edge, perhaps, or maybe just a millimeter 1 millimeter either side. I don't need to sharpen the rest of the blade on this cutter. And I will do the same thing there, and I've counted 4 strokes. So I should take the equivalent material off on this side so that the cutter meets in the middle the correct way. Now they do not come up to each other. They actually have what we call an overbite. Okay, the blade actually overlaps like so. That is the correct way. So, and now, because this I have to push away now because it's the opposite side. So I'm going to do 4 strokes, keeping in mind the number of strokes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you can see both sides that are sharpened. Okay. Now, cosmetically, this doesn't look very appealing. I have some sap up here and so forth. So what I would do later on, or I could use the 0.5 microns. Okay. Now, keeping in mind, I'm not going to sharpen the edge anymore. I'm just going to put on some cosmetics for this cutter. So I'm going to try to buff up to a high gloss the same way. Okay. But this time I am rocking the edge like this to keep the contour of this. Okay. This is one way to do that. So I'll do 4 times, right? Now, you have seen the shine on this tool. I'm just going to pass this around. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to pass this around. The other way is with the buffing compound. I'm just going to put on a little buffing wheel. So you see, this is just a cheap little machine here that I got from Canadian Tires. So just one of these wheels, and quick like a bunny. There is a little bit of a trick or that I stumbled on. This is on low speed. So this tool runs clockwise, right? So keeping that in mind, I'm gonna load up the wheel with some buffing compound. Okay. So it's got buffing compound, green. And just take a look at that. The shine on it. And I think everybody here has seen it. Now, I'm going to open up the blades like this. And the wheel is going to turn clockwise. So I'm not going to snag anything here. But if I was going to do this, there's a big chance that my buffing wheel will get caught on the cutting edge because the way it's rotating. If I do it with the like this, then I can come right up and through. So this is something that I learned. What it does is it's a safety thing. I mean, damaging the tool is one thing, because the tool would be jerked out of your hand by this tool, by the Dremel tool. So it's pretty important. So I'm gonna go now and do this and buff. Now you don't need a very high speed at all. As a matter of fact, a low speed buff is preferable. So just like this. Now you see I can come right up to the edge, and the tool is not catching the wheel. Now you have to keep that heat factor in mind, because buffing like this creates a lot of heat. So you don't want the wheel to stay near the cutting edge for a long time. So now I just finished the one side, and we'll have a look. So there's a difference there. I will do this side. Great. So I'll pass this around. So while the concave cutter is going around, what I will do is I will do the shears. Okay. This happens to be a small a small shear. So shears, I don't ever sharpen the flat side on the shears, because what that does is it increases the distance, the gap between the two shears, or the two halves. And the more you do it, the bigger the gap, and pretty soon the shears don't work properly anymore. So the only material that I remove is on the slant side. The only thing I do with the flat side is perhaps to remove a small burr. And that burr should be very small. So again, stressing that we don't need to remove a lot of material. It's not like putting things on a grinder. So what I will do is I will start with 15 microns. Because, yeah, we will use the 15 microns. So here again we go back to the blocks, and we're gonna put the flat put on a flat surface the slant side of the shears. Okay. Now it's not important that we have a sharpened edge right up to the end of the shears, because we don't hardly ever use that portion of the shears to cut anything. The only thing I can think of is maybe rope, but you know, I mostly use the middle part to the tip, so, and that's what we will concentrate on. So this, we're gonna put this flat on this surface. Just by rocking the blade like this, you can feel that it's flat or not. Now, speed is not the thing here, like I said before. As a matter of fact, it's the enemy. So we go slow. We just push. Counting the number of strokes. 2, 3, 4. Now you will see considerably difference. Unfortunately, I can't show you here because the blade was pretty clean to begin with. So I see there's a little bit of a sap here. So what I do is, this is a little tool that I have made for myself when I was doing some carving. This helps me to get into little corners and things for tools. So I'm just going to remove the sap, making sure this is flat. So there we are. I don't even feel a burr on this side, so we wouldn't have to remove it. And if we did have to, this is all you need, a light brush. So we'll do the other side also. Then making sure that it's flat. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Again, this is the quick way. I've closed the shears to do that so that the cutting edge is protected, so from the buffing wheel. You do this just so that you can show off your tool. Because I've seen some god-awful tools. I think several years ago I did a workshop also, and people brought in tools that were they must have used them for fish anchors or fish lures or something. They were all rusted up and beyond the point. Good. So I'll pass these around. So the next thing we do is concave cutters, or knob cutters, I should say. It's pretty tricky, but once you see what I've done, it's pretty easy. These don't really need sharpening, but I'll do that anyways. So. Yeah, sure. Oh, then you won't have to practice. You should have
the idea.
No, you should have the practice. So, yeah, it's important to do this a number of times so that you get a feel for. I really believe in hands-on things. So, again, we're gonna go to the 15 microns. Okay. With this, I have a piece of foam that I got. This is actually a mat for my camping trips. These meant to go underneath my sleeping bag. So it just got a right amount of bounce. Actually, any foam will do that is a little stiff, more stiff than soft. So I have some here that if anybody wants it. So now I got this abrasive on top of this foam. So now you see when I push down on this micro adhesive, the foam gives, right? And this is what we need to make this curvature happen. When we push this down, the foam will more or less take the shape of the curve cutting edge. So again, I do the same thing. I'm going to count 4 strokes. So I press hard enough so that the indentation is noticed. Okay, so I will go 1, and you can see that when I press and drag, I'm also rotating at the same time. Okay, so that's the tricky part about this guy is, and I will do the same thing very slowly. Don't need to go fast. That's 2, 3, 4. So now the slightly scuffed portion of the cutting edge has just been sharpened. I could repeat the same thing with the higher grits, right? Or I just use it the way it is. So if we need to knock off the burr, all we need is something like this. This simple rubbing of the cutting edge on the inside. So I'm gonna now. This will give you a better contrast for the before and after. So this is before on the lower one. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply the same thing. So. Yeah, sometimes I have to catch myself to slow down. So there's the after, the one on top. So again, we're gonna take the shortcut and remember clockwise, right? tools, right? You get what you pay for. Okay. Now, when you're looking at these cutters, I had early on in the life of this tool, I did the roots and I hit a stone. As you can see, the little nick mark here on the cutting edge. So after all these years of sharpening, I still haven't removed it yet. So I'll pass this around. So next we have some carving tools. I won't do these three because they are similar to the bonsai tools. These are actually wood carving tools that you can buy as wood carving tools. Some people, it's quite relaxing if you have a bunch of these tools, and you just go into the woods and get yourself a piece of wood and start whittling away, and before you know it, you come up with something totally surreal. It's totally unbelievable what you can come up with, and at the same time, it's very, very relaxing, and time flies. And after cutting your fingers many times, and sometimes your lap, and so, but for me, it's almost like a form of meditation. So try it. Okay, so I got the micro for this blade. I got these micro adhesive that are put on this bar stock, and this is what I'm going to use to sharpen this knife. So first I'm going to use the 15 microns. Always go from coarse to fine. So now I got to make sure that this is flat to the bar stock, and I'm going to stroke very slowly, counting 2, 3, 4. So here we have to pull, right? Making sure it's flat. So that's 4. Now I detect a small burr here, so I'm going to use something a little finer. Just go like this. There we have it. Very sharp blade. This is maple, so it's hardwood. What I would get you to do is, after you sharpen your tools, or before you sharpen your tools, just cut this. Cut the thicker part. You see how it cuts? And then when you sharpen your tools, you mix some more cuts. See if there's an improvement in the sharpness. That's it. Thank you very much for watching.